Can we just get a clapperboard already in here? Can we just 3, 2, 1, episode 6, take 1, part 1?
I suddenly understand why they have those things on a whole new level.
It's really frustrating, and it's a nice sharp clack. You can see very clearly which frame it closes on. Like, there's a whole reason to have them. And also, then you put on there episode and scene. You actually draw it on the clapperboard, so you can look through the first frame of every shot and just position them in order based on the numbers. And you don't have to do any sort of playing it to watch the shots if you're trying to get things in order. So you can film it in any order, and as long as you know what scene and shot it is, all you have to do is have those first frames keyed up in your software, and you can just go boop, 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 and everything's in order.
Oh, man. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you see it, and you're like, oh, that must be really helpful. But, like, once you start making videos, suddenly you realize layers more. And you can explain that to me, and I'm like, duh. Oh my God, the efficiency. Because I'm over here, like, just for everyone, I am trying to learn how to do video editing, and so far the interface alone is giving me hives. So, yeah, I have that much more respect for the fact that people can make films, and suddenly clapperboards are like, oh. Well,
you and I need to do at some point a Zoom where I can, like, walk you through what I do, and then you can, choose to ignore most of that and figure out the best way to do things.
I mean, it really helps to have a place to start from, where it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's the one thing I'm not going to do. Like, it helps get the ball rolling. You are listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers Podcast, TV show deep dive bonus episodes. These were originally recorded as videos, but technical limitations kept us from getting them out to you, so we have retreated to the audio-only format of a podcast. I have done my best to remove the silences from when we were watching scenes and chaotic background noises, but otherwise not edited the content at all for coherent thoughts. As with our regular podcast episodes, you can find these ad-free through our Patreon at patreon.com/WoTSpoilers.
So, welcome to Wheel of Time Spoilers Breakdown, episode 6, which is
6 part 1.
6 part 1. Yes, there will be multiple.
Because we know this will be at least a 2-parter.
I can say part 1 of question mark.
Yeah, we have a time limit for how long we're going to go if we don't get to the halfway mark.
Right. So
we'll see.
Well, as always, we're starting with the animated short. This one's of the Ogier. So I enjoyed this a lot. It was, again, as all these are, straight out of the book lore. What are the Ogier, the Longing, and the Steadings? And so I guess my main question is, what do you think of the look of these Ogier?
Well, first of all, I mean, part of the look is the sound, and the sound is that of an Ent. Lord of the Rings. That is straight Treebeard.
Yeah, no.
That just is Treebeard talking, which is hilarious. And I'm a little, like, I can't decide if I think that's amazing or annoying. So I guess it's amazing. As far as the actual... Sorry.
I'm assuming they did these long before they actually got a shot to see Loyal. That the animated shorts must have taken much longer to work on than the whole show, which I think is why some of it's directly from the books without any changes, because I think they said, here's the lore we're not going to change. Make video shorts explaining it. And then let's go off and work on the TV show. So these were probably worked on in parallel, and I'm guessing with very minimal input between the two different branches.
Yeah. As far as the look itself, I mean, I like it in the sense that it makes Loyal make sense In a lot of ways, it gives scale to how they stand against a lot of familiar objects like ships and docks and sailors from other lands, right? Like you get a sense of how big they are and how people interact with them. I like the pointy ears. They're not quite as long as they're described in the books, but they are very cat-like, which is canonical. And I appreciate that they're not exactly elf ears. They're more like cat ears.
I would like to see them flop over.
That's nice.
They don't.
No, but.
And yeah, fairly normal eyebrows. Nothing spectacular necessarily about the eyebrows or the beards.
Yeah, it's the nose.
Yeah.
And that's what they really spent a lot of the energy on the prosthetics with Loyal.
And the forehead, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, a bit. But it's really that really broad nose, like that's almost a muzzle. That's one of the most distinctive parts of the description that we get in the books is these like really broad noses. So I'm glad that they're making that part of the drawing as well, is like a much broader nose. Like, I mean, it's not as broad as how they have the one in the show, but it's that in the ears. Like those are the two things that they're really emphasizing.
And I think the size. So much stillness.
And that heavy brow ridge. I mean, it's very like a lot of this reminded me of like depictions of Neanderthals.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like a lot of this made me think of like animations of like what the Neolithic period was like, you know? The last ice age, the interaction of different human populations. Like that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, if Neanderthals were 8 feet tall. Yeah,
and sang magic.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. Yeah. Total. Yes, exactly. It's a wild ride.
A lot of slow shots, a lot of lingering, slow panning shots in this one. Not a lot of action, just like, yes, this is his face. This is a ship.
It's like it's kind of like a picture book. It's got that kind of like you're looking at the picture and then reading a small bit of text, looking at the picture and reading a small bit of text, but it's a voiceover instead. And I love that transition between the ships and the trees. I love how this whole story is hinging on him being on a ship and traveling by ship because it's so antithetical to what a steading is, right? Like there's no ocean steading to the best of our knowledge. Like that's just not a thing. I mean, a coral reef, a kelp forest, there's definitely ecological candidates for what you could have as a steading, but then you need marine ogier. And that just it isn't a thing canonically.
That just had to become a weird theory on Malkir Talks right now. We gotta pitch that to him. Marine ogier, right? Aqua steadings. Clearly, somebody would have found it, right? In their voyages.
We live on the Pacific coast where there are some amazing kelp forests that support as much life as the forests on land in like the Olympic Peninsula or the redwoods. You know, it's like there are forests in the ocean, like. There is a niche for marine ogier to move into, is what I'm saying.
Underwater rivers, like absolutely. And then canonically, we have like mermaids, and we can talk about what if mermaids were actually just mistaken for ogier, aqua ogier.
Yeah, manatine instead of a lantine or manatee, manitin. Thank you, chat.
Size comparison there. You can see the little man on the right. That's like a couple of pixels tall, and then giant tree. Like
yeah, and that in the shot later where they pan across the cut down, the stump of a great tree, reminds me of like in Fern Gully when the fairies find the clear cut. Mm-hmm. It's that scale, except in this case, it's an ogier and a great tree, and it's not tragic. Obviously,
no, obviously.
That's an interesting line. Some of these trees have been towering since the Age of Legends. Okay, clearly that's a euphemism for since the end of the breaking.
That's because... Yeah, pretty much what I thought.
That's I'll give him that for poetic license. Like, but I mean, are those chora trees? Like,
I believe it's entirely possible that a grove of trees, like isolated groves of trees, survived the breaking. Like, places got transported, but not necessarily destroyed.
And the steading are distinct places that moved with more resistance against the breaking. Like, they moved. We know they moved, but like, they're still the steading, right? You didn't end up with like steading scattered across the land, like smeared out, right? Like, they still stayed coherent as units.
I don't know. I wondered if maybe the reason we have so many steadings, maybe there's just one or two big ones before, and then with the breaking, you ended up with like literally them pulled apart.
Whoa.
And that's why you have the breakings like in the mountains and sort of this, stretched apart ring.
Whoa. I mean, I could get behind that. Now that you've just blown my mind.
I mean, I think canonically it is that they more just moved because a steading is a steading. I mean, no one's saying like, oh, there's these small little steadings that we have to deal with now. But I always...
Yeah, no one said that. But I love that headcanon. But I think, you're right that there could actually be trees that were seedlings during the Age of Legends, rode out the breaking in a steading, and now are the ancientest trees. That actually does make a lot of sense now that you say that.
But yeah, I mean, since the end of the breaking, at least. And 3,000-year-old trees are freaking old trees. I mean, we don't have many trees that are that old.
No, we do have trees that are that old, but they are very few and have names, which I don't know. But they have names because there are not that many. Yeah, they exist. Bristlecone pines and sequoia, I think. And also, there's this birch colony that's like one living organism, but it's like many miles wide, and it's ostensibly extremely old because it's one organism that's been there for many thousands of years, but also like the individual trees come up and die, so it's like it's in a weird spot. But yeah, bristlecone pines, that's where you're going to find the actual oldest trees, and I think it's like 4,000 something years. I think I might be talking out of my ass, but there are trees that were fully established trees 2,000 years ago. So there's, I
mean, how long have I heard? Trees. Like, this tree stood when Jesus was around. Like, I've heard that multiple times.
There's a lot of those. There are fewer that can claim twice that length of time, but I'm pretty sure that the oldest bristlecone pine is like 4,000 something years old.
Again, see the man walking across the tree. Like, which I do think they had, like, like a dance floor was a cut down tree in the books. So it's a big space.
Yeah. Okay. I found it. It is a bristlecone pine, 5,000 years. I was lowballing.
Can I just say, a little Bail Doman beard going on there?
Yeah, I was noticing that. It's a very, Amish, shaving pattern, the bare upper lip and the chin strap thing. It's so, if you take the soul patch out of it, then it's Amish, and it's weird, which he basically has. So he's basically Amish. Basically, the Ogier are Amish Ents is what I'm getting.
I was just trying to come up with a way to combine Amish and Ent. Omint. But then you just basically get Ogier, so, I guess that's...
And we're back to where we started,
The wheel turns. Sort of, everyone singing around a great tree is basically what I got.
It's so cool. It's so much just out of the book lore just being dumped in this and then they show us the singing, and it's, God, I love it so much.
I feel like that's our first female Ogier.
Oh, right behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, but right behind me.
Behind you,
also.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, basically just finer features, more elf-like.
Yeah, pointier ears.
Yeah.
More feminine.
No beard.
Yep.
I think there's another one between the two men also.
And then this is pretty cool. The boat that forms fully formed out of the side of the great tree. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, here's some boat wood. And it looks like a kid's toy, but at the same time, it almost looks big enough for a human to sit in.
It's like a little tiny it's like when you have those toys that are like almost baby sized, and then you have like the car for them to sit in, and like you can put your siblings in.
Totally. So, sung wood.
Yep.
So that was what the ceremony was.
It's an interesting. It's interesting that they're making a child's toy with the talent of singing.
Right.
Though I suppose it matters a lot to him, given that he then spends his life on a ship, like being away from the steading and risking belonging.
You think that was him as a child getting the boat?
Yeah, definitely. This is in someone's recollections. That is definitely him as a child. So getting into the way of the leaf, like he is blown far from home. He needs to go do things out elsewhere. And it starts partially with like he's being supported enough that he's being given a sung wood boat toy. Like, I don't think you make sung wood toys lightly. I think that has to have meant something in his life already. Yeah.
Some kids get fascinated with trains. Some kids get fascinated with boats. There's,
I don't know what this says, but it's beautiful.
That Ogier script, yeah. It's, I'd almost say that doesn't look Old Tongue to me. I think that's Ogier script, which is a different writing. So we have a whole different type of writing style other than Old Tongue up here. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'd love to get a font based on that because I've got one based on the Old Tongue. Yeah. And do we know what this map is? Like, again, I'm not paying attention to other people's reactions. I have no idea if we know where this map is of. I have not done that level of research. To be honest,
bad nerd.
I see Tarvalon.
I was wondering if I was seeing the river patterns like near Tarvalon.
And then you've got Dragon Mount up north of it. And then isn't that the island? So it's hard to point. But
so the island is here.
Yeah.
Ish. It's kind of up in here. And then Dragon Mount is near the top of the page. Yeah, I agree. Because I kept looking at the pattern of rivers being like, I feel like I know that. Not at all.
Sorry, Dragon Mount is directly next to it. There's a big mountain right next to the island.
Oh, maybe it's just because the picture's so bad. There's another mountain up near the top. Okay.
There is a mountain near the top, but I think the mountain near the top is the edge of the Borderlands. You see Tarwin's Gap there in the upper right-hand corner. And then down the right side of the page, you have the spine of the dragon. And then I see Tarvalon, Spine of the World.
Dragon Wall.
There's the island where Tarvalon is, and directly next to it is a large mountain. And then that's the river that goes all the way down to behind your head, probably the fingers of Tyr.
Yeah, from Tyr to the two rivers.
Yep.
That's what this map shows. From Tyr to the two rivers and every town between. Oh, wow. Yes, that's definitely the Dragon Wall along the right-hand side of the page. And so that presumably that Old Tongue or that Ogier script on the side is talking about the facing page. And we need someone to freaking translate that. I'm sure it's already been done and I just don't know about it because if you've seen me on Twitter, you know that I'm not staying off of Twitter, but I am avoiding most reactions and conversations beyond scanning Twitter very quickly.
That's such a pretty image. And then True Adventure calls and you cut to him on a ship lying up looking at the stars, looking through the mast like it's the trees.
And it's like, this is loyal. There have always been Ogier who have this urge to travel and this need to go out into the world despite the comforts of the steading. And loyal is by no means the first or the only.
And then what I think is a shot of the Milky Way.
Yeah, I agree. I was admiring that they included the Milky Way in that. Just, it's so... I love that they're doing good skies, even in the animated shorts.
So yeah, that was fun. That was a fun little reminiscent of what the Ogier are. We're introducing Loyal, or we introduced Loyal in the last episode, and now we're getting a little bit more of him, which I think is important, hopefully, for the ways. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, that was excellent. I love that. Love that bit.
Yeah, that was really fun.
All right, so let's dig into Wheel of Time, episode 6. This one and then 2 more.
There is so much happening here.
Yeah, what do you mean? This just one or two little things.
Oh boy. Oh boy, there's so much.
All right, skipping the recap.
And cold open. Let's go. Young Swan and the glorious beauty that is Tyr.
Let me turn on audio. All right, first of all, the farming, right? It's got to be rice.
Something that needs flood irrigation, and rice is a staple food to keep an empire going. Yeah, rice seems like a reasonable guess.
Right, and we know
not wheat. You don't grow wheat like that.
No. And this is in the fingers of the dragon, so flooding, warm weather, it's pretty interesting that the colors, you have some deciduous trees in what would be a fairly warm area, but...
Yeah, there's a lot about this landscape that confuses me. From a geologic standpoint, like the limestone cliffs right next to a big expansive river delta, that seems incongruous to me. I feel like there should be more of a plain if you're going to have a delta. That might just be my only getting 3/4 of a geology degree in college talking. That's entirely possible.
You think it's a composed landscape then?
I mean, I don't know where they shot this at all. So that's definitely sort of screwing up my ability to evaluate this in a realistic way, which is on me as a researcher.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's no actual canonical mountains near Tyr. It's a floodplain. It's like
right,
it's like
which
the
makes way more
Basin.
sense with yeah. Which I mean, where are there tall mountains in the Mississippi Basin? It's not a thing. And yeah, deciduous trees in an area this warm is, again, like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the place where they laugh at snow, like...
Yeah, so deciduous I mean, we laugh at snow here, but it's sort of in that terrified way of like, please don't snow, because we can't drive for shit. We just had snow here the other day, and there have been like 5 or 6 wrecks that I've heard about on the nearby highway, because these are very narrow highways, and they get icy because the snow melts a bit and then it refreezes into black ice, and people don't have a lot of time to practice out here because it melts really quickly. So there's these patches of black ice on these narrow fucking roads that are like over cliffs and next to rivers. And it's a bad time.
That's why you need a horse like Bella. Gorgeous hut and landscape there. And then
it's so pretty.
A young Suan, which did you realize this was a flashback immediately? Or yeah.
I mean, well, what do you mean by that?
I mean, so the second I saw Suan, I was like, okay, this is young Suan. Because of the tattoo. And that only came to me because of the previews, because I knew that we were going to see Suan with the tattoos, and I immediately recognized them.
And she was one of the early casting announcements back before I got overwhelmed with keeping up with casting announcements, was young Swan being this cute little black girl. And so as soon as I saw her, and the tattoos were featured so prominently in her intro in the trailer that it's like, I mean, how could this be anything else than that?
Interesting contrast between the home woven hammock and the very opulent blanket she's under.
Yeah, I was noticing all the colors in that blanket, being like, that blanket has a story to tell, and what's going on with it and her. Because everything else is so brown in that whole room. Though she is wearing blue. I just noticed that she's wearing blue right there.
Of course she is. Because why would you color signal under the white, which is under her novice? She's got to get through the novice phase, right? That's why it's blue under white.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe she got it as like, maybe this blanket was made by a grandparent or by her mom or traded from a Tuatha but we see tons of colors every time there's a crowd scene. So like colors are a big part of this world.
And they are right outside of Tyr, which is a major trading center.
Yeah. Yeah. The other interesting thing about this is like, Ten is really young to be both tattooed and channeling. Those are both she's really young to be having both those things be a thing.
Well, growing up in the country, you can mature a lot earlier.
It's true. But the channeling thing is supposed to happen when you're like 16. or 15 at the youngest. So that she's already practicing and has a reputation with her dad and maybe with some of the villagers. At 10 is like, are we aging down the ability to channel? Like, what?
Well, they are making her like super like, other than like maybe Moraine, they're making one of the most powerful channelers, right? She's supposed to be extremely powerful, other than Moraine, who's the only one who can challenge her, right? Like, so I always thought what they're trying to do is show that she's so talented that she was able to learn at a very young age. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very young compared to like Egwene or Nynaeve, who are just starting for the first time. And they're quite a bit older.
Yeah, but I guess they are really making it about need. And clearly her and her father have a world where they have some serious needs. You know, he's one-handed and widowed. Like, she's probably learned how to channel because she needed to like save his life or something like that. And it's just, you mature faster when you're living in that kind of rough environment, and that's what they're going with.
And she doesn't have the physical strength to do a lot of the chores either that she needs to do to help. Yeah. Very much hides his hand in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you get to know him first before you see the missing hand.
Yeah, I get to see the tattoos and see like, oh, this is a family thing. And then this exchange is so cute.
Love the before some other bastard does, which is, it's something so he's said cute. A million times. Yeah.
And she's 10 and she's swearing. And it's just like, this is so Swan. I love that we're getting Swan's backstory in more detail and in more loving interpretation than what was sort of implied. We don't really know much about her in the books, but this builds up the elements that we all want to believe in.
Well, this guy, I liked him for Father of the Year. He's like, he just did. The actor does such a convincing job of being a very sweet and adoring father, which does sort of find it weird that he sends his daughter off with no help besides just the boat, but we'll see.
We'll talk about it as we get there, but it makes sense why she quotes him all the time now, more in the books, because it's like he was a very wise man, as depicted here. Barefoot. This shot. That shot there where you see the stone. Yeah, let me see if I can get it. Them in the...
There it is.
Yes. That shot. And then there's a causeway, if you can get like another couple seconds, but it doesn't matter because it's just a bridge.
Right.
There.
So right behind your head. I will...
Yes. Move me? You gonna move me?
There we go. So that, yeah.
Ah, yes. So now we're just seeing the screen without our silly faces in it. And it's this father and daughter fishing for food on the river while this incredible rocky spire in the distance rises up like another mountain, except more pokey.
Do you think that's on top of the stone? Or do you think that is the stone? Like the whole stone of...
Oh, that is the stone.
That is the stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the stone, for sure. It rises like a small mountain. That is the stone. And Rand's going to be climbing up it in no time at all.
That looks amazing.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, I can't wait to get a closer up. And so here you get to see him struggling a little bit. And they still haven't shown his other hand, is what I've noticed. Like, you still...
It's in the sequence that they show.
Yeah, exactly. And then right there, you get that shot that, like, oh, he's missing.
Which I missed at the beginning, at first. I was just so into the music, I didn't even fucking notice he was missing a hand.
But because they don't show it, because they make sure that you don't see it, and so you don't expect it. Like, there's this, like, wait, I thought I saw his hands already. And you're like, oh, no, I didn't. I just thought I did. So, yeah, just... a young Swan with incredible control over the power and channeling.
Yeah. And undoing a knot, which, like, ostensibly, like, why are you not helping him with your hands? It seems like a knot that a kid could undo, but it's a really great storytelling mechanism to show that she has this kind of delicate control. And then he gives us the line, like, you couldn't do that last week. So obviously she's increasing in control. So she's a quick study on her own, which is another cool attribute. But yeah, and I love the way she embodied it with her hands. It's really cute.
That was well done. Like I'm loving the hand motions with the channeling and the way that everyone's doing them differently, and the way that it's just all the women have their own way of using their hands, and that sort of just fits in with the book canon really, really well. Yeah.
And then the dogs bark.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we got the line from Moraine that she had a pet dog. That's actually a better shot of the stone, by the way.
It is. It is. Yeah, move our logo out of the way.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, and that's with the village. You can see the whole village. And I'm assuming the village burns down their house. Right?
Yes.
It's not the village burns down.
No, it's just the house.
Their house gets burned down.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, that is a really good view of, you can really tell that is a fortress, not a hill. But it looks like a small hill.
It sure does.
And that bridge getting to it that you can see so prominently, like that's going to figure hugely into why it's so impenetrable. And that's going to be a huge part of like the battle sequences for the stone. And when we march in and out of the stone, like that causeway, we're going to be seeing that causeway much closer up a lot when we see the stone.
Do you think that's the wall Matt walks down before he plants the fireworks?
I bet that one's a smaller wall farther in. I think this is a big, huge, like 8 carriages abreast can walk across it kind of causeway. That's my guess. But yeah, the dogs. Did they see her? Like she channels and then the dogs bark and then their house gets burned down. And yeah, we had that thing about like there was a pet dog, blah, blah, blah. But like that felt like a sequence of events to me, not random.
I'm there with you. Yeah, they didn't give us a good, like, did they get caught or was it just suspicion? Are there white cloaks in the area? Like what spurred the Dragon's Fang? I'm always going to want more detail. That's my problem with the show is like, I give me 2-hour episodes because I want like 10 times more detail. Give me the Snyder cut. Give me the Rafe cut.
Yeah. Oh, Catherine in chat is suggesting that the dogs are barking because the house is being burned.
The people are getting all excited.
It's not that she channeled and gave them away. She'd already given herself away.
That makes more sense.
They were taking it. That I agree with that. That makes a lot more sense. Unfortunately, people suck.
Yes.
It's a good line.
Quick question. How do you think he lost the hand?
Fishing accident. Something with nets.
No, like white cloaking or anything like that?
Nah. Just being poor and subsistence farming and gathering. It's hazardous. Or maybe a High Lord of Tyr cut it off. I mean, they suck really bad, so could have been. He's got tattoos down his arms, up his neck, like so many tattoos.
They seem to start with similar ones on their neck, though. And I wonder if there's maybe family tattoos that they start with.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be you start with your family and then you mark like events in your life as you radiate outward or something like that.
Dragon's Fang scrawled on the fence. The only thing that's not burned.
The most obvious and overt one we've gotten yet. This is a symbol that people draw.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty clearly obvious that everything they own's been burned.
Yeah. It's a big complex that they had. Bundle her onto a boat in the dead of night and get her out of there.
I'm worried about him. He doesn't have a boat. He doesn't have a house. I got to assume he's just not gonna make it. That he pretty much gets killed. That he goes to face the village and they take him down.
Agreed. He clearly has no friends, no family, no resources. He's sending her out so that way she doesn't have to see him die. Like, in a useless quest to survive. And because he can't protect her, right? The only thing he can do is send her away and then take what comes. But what comes is unlikely to go well. And that is really... I'm mad at him for not going with her.
Yeah, that was the big question. Why not go with? Like, why not? Maybe because he thinks he's not welcome in the White Tower?
Yeah, but, like, there's towns nearby. Like, he has nothing here except persecution. It makes no sense to me that he doesn't pick up and move to be closer to her. Why stay? Who are you staying for? That makes no sense to me.
My only guess is that maybe, like, of the resources he was able to find in the house, he's giving her everything, and, like, the two of them would have gone through them too quickly. So maybe he's giving her everything he's got to give her a better chance.
Going with her would give her a better chance.
Yeah,
but chat is saying maybe it's so that he can hold off the village and misdirect them so she has time to get away.
I don't see
heavy if so.
Yeah. All right. There's no home to come to.
Yeah, when it's safe in tier for peasant girls to channel, not going to happen.
Never.
Anytime soon. Like, ever. It's so rough. This is so rough.
And you can see the grief on his face. The actor does such a great job.
The acting is intense.
Fish touch the moon, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, like fish and birds and swimming and flying, and it's just, oh man, that's some RJ level writing right there. And then the cleverness of her response is like, that's the puzzle solver. That's Swan. That's the woman who rises up in the spy networks really fast when she gets the shawl. Right there. There she is.
And the one thing this does sort of disprove is Nynaeve's story, right? About her childhood, who was too young and poor and went to the White Tower and was turned away. It's like, but so was Suan, who rose up to be the Amerlin seat. So clearly, and 40 years ago, who knows how long ago, Nynaeve's mentor went, probably 40 years before that.
Something else happened. Something else explains that, because all of us book readers were like, what the fuck is with that story? So they gave us this cold open partially to be like, yes, a little girl can leave home with a freaking, stick with a kerchief of possessions over her shoulder and boat her way there all by herself and show up, and they will take her in and train her in this skill. Like, that will happen. So there's something else about what happened to Nynaeve's mentor that if they don't give us details because hour-long time limits, like, I just want to say it now, like, I will spend so much money on getting the Rafe edit.
Yeah, the DVD extras, whatever.
So much money. Like, Amazon, give it to me. I will pay an exorbitant amount of money for this stuff. Give it to me now.
And when Aradia spends an exorbitant amount of money on it, I'll make her give it to me.
That's all Patreon money anyway, so.
And that's where we get the name Swan. And I think that's where, if you didn't already know that, at that point, you're like, oh, Amerlin's seat, like Swan Sanche. Like, I feel like that's the moment when, and the music changes. We get a little more of sort of that mystery, intrigue music.
Yeah.
Clever as a pike, strong as the tides. Not as a silver pike. I was looking for a silver pike reference, And
what I think is interesting is the reference to both the river and the tides. Because, they're in the fingers of the dragon. They're affected by the tides, but also, like, the river is where they're making their living. Like, she's an estuary girl. She can move in salt water and fresh water.
It's a good analogy, Suan the salmon. She swims upstream to die tragically.
Oh, God, that's so true. Also, I have things to say about upstream, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. Oh, I wanted to see what was in her runny sack for a second. See if I can get back there without losing too much. It's such a,
kid leaving from home. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's like a book, a couple of bundles of some food, and like one or two other things. That's like barely even a running sack. Yeah, no, that's probably like, all of their worldly possessions that are left. He's probably keeping like his knife. Oh, man. Okay, so it's tragic, but can I yell about the geology? Yeah.
Which way is... Okay. He's sending her out in a tiny little boat.
Yeah.
There's 0% chance that boat will fare well in the ocean.
Yeah.
Therefore, she has to be going upstream. The current in that shot is distinctly going downriver. The direction she's going is distinctly downriver in that shot. And also away from Tyr.
Yes.
Tyr is behind her, but Tyr should be downstream of her because it is a port city. I understand cinematography is hard, but it really does not help me suspend my disbelief when you have upriver being downriver. Anyway.
I'm nodding. Someone pointed out to me and I was like, oh yeah. There's no real way to explain that away. Maybe the tides are rising in the wrong... So wait, the tides have risen and are pushing the water backwards against the river? And we actually
That is actually a thing.
Yeah. It's usually during a storm and an extreme event, and it looked really calm there. So... No.
I mean, it happens on rivers. The river that I live on, many miles upstream, there is a tidal influence. It's still all freshwater, but there is a tidal influence. You can see it because we have to drive the same highway to get out. So I see it at all different times of tide.
But that usually slows the flow, not necessarily flows backwards.
It flows backwards in some areas. It diminishes, right? Like the farther upstream you get until it's just backing up. And then eventually the grade changes enough. But there is definitely a section of the river where you can see that the current is flowing backwards, many miles in from the ocean. So I will headcanon that she caught the tide as it was going inland. I'm going to headcanon that to make up for what was almost definitely the realities of filming.
Another possible explanation is she was on a side channel and was going downstream to get to the main channel where she was going to go back upstream. Or she was on the main channel to go downstream to go up a side channel to get back. You know, I'm not really sure, but like, she could not.
The fingers of the dragon are supposed to be complicated, so we can just say something, fingers of the dragon.
Tides, swirls, all sorts of,
Sure, we'll say that works. I'll accept it. But really good cold open. I really, really liked all of that. The only other thing interesting with that is noting the parts of her chest tattoos that are asymmetrical. Because I'm just trying to track it because I have a theory about where they go in the second part of this, at least the second part of this video. And the only other thing was that in the notes it says it's surprising that Tyr is a port town. I don't see what's surprising. Or no, it says it's surprising that Tyr is a port town on a river. It's like, it's on a river and it's a port. And I'm like, why is this surprising? Why are we using the word surprising?
I'd have to read that. That seems weird.
I don't. It's very weird. That's how ports and cities, rivers work.
I guess the only thing I can think is maybe because it's such a delta that there's not like a deep port inland. Unlike that, like, so there's not a way to get the boats past the delta very easily because it spreads out and gets really shallow and swampy. And so that kind of makes it a surprising port, as opposed to like Ilion, which may be like on a deeper, more solid river, doesn't have the delta. Maybe it's a little easier to get the boats up into the river and upriver from there.
Well, I am not a civil engineer, so that could very well be it.
I'm an electrical. That we don't know either.
I love how they open that.
And that's, I mean, our first shot of Leanne, our first shot of a lot of these Aes Sedai. But yeah, that shot right there where we've got Suan coming in, Leanne. I mean, I was almost kind of disappointed in how little screen time Leanne got, right? Because she was just sort of there to make a couple of pronouncements, but...
well, yeah, I fully expect to see a lot more of her later.
Right.
And the thing I really liked about this, aside from the fact that everything echoes in here, like epically, there's just so much echoing. I love that they didn't start us out with 3 iterations of She Comes because it's just so awkward. I like that they start us in the middle of the ritual where the words stop sounding really weird. And thank you, chat, for giving us the picture for comparison later. I've now pinned it. But this whole sequence is just so flippin' gorgeous. I cannot even.
Yeah. Never freaked out about Maureen's earpiece that wraps around like that.
Oh my God. I freaked out too. It's so cool. Oh my God. All their costumes are just, they're dressed to the nines and every single piece is gorgeous. I mean, Leandrin's belt, just the gorgeousness in all these shots is just painful. And I don't know how we're going to get out of this sequence in less than 2 hours. But
look at Moraine, just how dirty Moraine's dress is now. Like all the smudge on her sleeve and on the front cuff. Like she's gone through a lot in this dress. It is not clean.
Everything else about her is, and it's as clean as it can be.
Yeah, it's stained.
Yeah, there are stains on it for sure.
Unless that's just lighting and I'm being crazy.
Well, I think it might be a weaving pattern or it stains. I couldn't make up my mind. I was actively on the fence while I was doing my notes.
See, now I'm looking at it and I totally think it's just the patterns of the fabric, and I was totally wrong.
I mean, she's rich. She's got clean dresses that are identical to the ones
clearly she is dressed up with the hair's all done up. This is a very
all
fancy.
of them are in their absolute best. I mean, look at the fabric of Leandrin's thing, the cutoutness of her belt, her hair. I mean, look, there's better shots than this one. Oh God, it's good.
So this gives us that overhead shot that we saw. That again, it almost looks animated as we go all the way up. Mm-hmm. We can see, and we've talked about this before, but we're missing a green, and we took a long time to figure out that was a green that was missing.
Mm-hmm. And it has to be Karani because
it has to be Karani because she's been killed. Yeah, absolutely. That's a spot missing for her. The red, yellow, blue, white. Yeah, no, I mean this is just. It's a great shot. I love the shot. I could look at it for hours.
It's so pretty. It's so fucking pretty.
I also like that the Amyrlin seat is equal in size to 3 sitters' spots.
Yeah. She's a powerful woman.
Mm-hmm. And if I'd say this, so the circle is divided up into 10 sections of equal width. 7 of which are the Ajahs, 2 of which are entrances and exits, and 1 of which is the Amyrlin. So each one is like 36 degrees of the circle. Mm-hmm. And the Amyrlin is equal to everybody else.
Mm-hmm. They're so pretty. They're just so pretty. I can't.
So pretty. So yeah, we definitely have the stole on the inside. White from the inside out. White, gray, blue, green, yellow, brown, red. And I love everything about her performance. I absolutely, she's amazing. I've never seen her in anything. Oh no, I have seen her in something, but she's amazing. But I love how she sits down and like gathers herself. Like you really see her like settle into the seat and like assume the mantle of its authority for a beat, and then she looks up and is ready to engage. And I just, oh God, she gets the gravitas of her role as an actress. She understands who the Amyrlin is as a position. You know, I mean, she basically had to go through what Egwene goes through, which is a crash course in how important it is to be Amyrlin's seat. That's what Sophie had to go through. And she got it. She nailed it. Mm-hmm. And as far as I can tell from the shot I see in the picture compared to now, it's identical. They've done a very good job of either having it something they can print out and apply, so it's an identical tattoo, or...
So it is the same arrangement in this as it was in when she was a kid.
Absolutely, yeah.
The way that the asymmetrical parts down near the bottom are. See, I don't think so. I think this is backwards.
Oh, it is. You're right. It is mirrored. Is it mirrored?
It's mirrored because you scroll up in chat. There's that picture.
Yeah.
And it's mirrored. So, okay, good to this. I want to headcanon that this was not laziness. That this was actually there's something to be had here. I think that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I end up with enough evidence to make myself look like an idiot.
No, it's mirrored. We have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
It's whether there's that fish in the center and whether it goes to the left or to the right. And as a young girl, it goes to her left, and as a woman is going to her right. No, my right. That's hard to figure out. Okay, tower guards. Or accepted.
Tower guards.
Tower guards.
The tower. This is a woke Wheel of Time. Therefore, women can be tower guards in a place where women wield absolute power because magic. Like, there's just female tower guards. That's clearly what this is. I bet there's female warders, and we just haven't seen them yet.
I love that Loghain's belt is like askew. His like, he's just not quite all together. He's got that 1,000-yard stare going on.
Oh, yeah. It's been a month,
Yeah. Of just prison. Yeah.
Pure theatrics.
Yeah, but would anyone pose a threat in the center of that many women who can channel? Almost nobody.
Nobody. This entire bit is theatrics. Like, she is so cool and calculating and ultimately cruel in this sequence. Like, she is the power of a 3,000-year-old institution exercising itself through its official avatar, and its every move, every word is so perfectly placed. It's just so theatrical.
He's definitely right, and they definitely say that. He's using it like a cudgel to try and piss her off to get him executed, but he's using the truth because he knows that hurts more.
Yep.
By the way, does he have genies on his lapels?
No. Genie?
Dragons.
They gotta be dragons. They gotta be dragons.
All right, I gotta pause there because I didn't find a good shot of the yellows, but here we have it.
Yeah, so get this now.
Yeah.
For a still. I'm gonna take the logo out too before you screenshot it. And at some point, we need to get a good shot of Leanne because there's some really cool pieces of her costume.
Okay, bringing this back. All right. Do you want to just keep going for now?
Yeah. At some point, that'll be a cool shot of Leanne. We just have to stop and look at her costume because there's some cool parts.
What do you think about that? Do you think he really was saying, hey, I'm coming after the Aes Sedai, and people were rising up against them?
Nah. I mean... In the sense that the dragon has to get Aes Sedai to join with him, and he knows that they're going to oppose him, and so there's an inevitable confrontation. I mean, I think in that sense, he said, I'm going to go beat the Aes Sedai into joining me. But I don't think that he started his rebellion to take down the Aes Sedai. I think he's leaning into that to try to make them mad enough to kill him.
Oh, yeah. That pissed everybody off.
I mean, he's trying to piss them off, and he picked the correct way to do it. I mean, to brag about killing one of their own, much less to insult her in that way. I mean, his use of the word bitch was so appropriate here because legitimately he was fighting for his life. So there was antagonism, and he's trying to put them into a murderous frenzy. Right. That's an appropriate word choice if that's what you're going for.
This man is basically suicide by copying, except with, Aes Sedai. Yeah.
Yes. Suicide by judge.
Yeah.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, that thoughtfulness is just like, I can't believe he even tried to do that. How ridiculous.
Her whole delivery is just, every one of these actors blows me away with how they do things I don't expect and yet clearly embody the character better than my mental image ever could. It's just, they're so good.
That look, just that eye roll of thinking before proclaiming was so Suan.
Mm-hmm.
Calling out his shit.
And he immediately breaks because that was his last... That was the last bit of his courage he had, was to make that happen. And she's like, I see right through you. Not happening.
By the way, what color is the stone in her ring? Because it's not blue.
There's a better shot of it when she's talking to Egwene and Nynaeve, but it's kind of like a swirly, depthless gold. And gold seems to be the color of the Amerlin's general aesthetic. Also Leanne, which I have a timestamp for a really good shot of her. We've already passed it. But a part of what I noticed with her is that gold is the theme. So gold is very much, I'm pretty sure we'll get there when we get there, with the other scene. But I think it's gold like a butterscotch bowling ball, you know? It's that kind of swirly, sparkly gold.
And the guards have gold, across them as well. So that implies that gentling doesn't stop the madness. He just keeps getting more mad.
Yeah. I also couldn't help but wonder if we're going to hear some of this language recycled when she gets deposed. That
would be interesting. Someone declaring proclamation on her.
And we're going to study you and see how you die from the despair. You know, I mean, I just wonder, because I think she's getting deposed. I do think they're keeping that story beat. We don't know how, but it would be amazing if they kept the watched and studied until you die of misery theme, because she sentenced someone to that once. At least once.
Yeah. She needs somehow to escape. There's a lot. Oh, man. How are they going to do Gawain? There's so much. Without Camelin, we're missing that whole crew.
Oh, the Camelin crew comes all over the place. They're globetrotters. Camelin's coming. I'm not worried. God, and then they travel together as two stilled people.
Yeah, as for a long time. That's part of the books that you don't get very up close. But yeah, it's Suan, Logain, Min, and Leanne traveled together for like nearly a year to get
months. Many months.
Like, because they don't know where they're going at first. So they spend a lot of time wandering before Suan figures out they need to go to Solidar, and then it takes them a while to get there as well. And that's that whole thing where they try and prod them along for months and months and months and months to keep them going.
Yeah. God, and like, we don't see Logain getting gentled on screen in the books, but it is done formally, right? Like, I mean, the next thing she says as soon as he's dragged out is like, this should have happened in front of me. He should have been given trial and then dealt with. So that means that in the books, she still cast judgment on him in a scene that is as emotional as this for him, right? Like, there's still this strong connection. I've never thought about the fact that the last time that they were in a room together, she was sentencing him to get gentled and possibly participating in it.
No, and I mean, they do not get along well in the beginning of that journey.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even know who she is. She knows who he is. But looking at all of this hurt and just realizing where her arc intersects with his, even in the books, just realizing that this is part of what happened in the books that I've just never thought about. There's so much hurt there.
That's rough, watching it being dragged out.
I do like, though, that those two women have no problem just dragging this grown-ass man out of there. There's no superhuman strength just because he's got, manness. It's like, no, he's a broken prisoner, and these are guards, and it doesn't matter that they're women. They just to drag him out of there. I mean, not that he's a difficult thing, but like, it just, I don't know. Women are portrayed as so frail in film so often, even when they don't need to be. And this was just like, no, no, that's dumb.
Do you want to talk about them now as they depart? Okay.
Well, also the costumes.
Sure.
Because that's a really good angle to view them at.
Up top or here?
Here. I mean, first of all, can we appreciate that hairpiece that Swan has just behind you? That thing's so freaking cool.
Yeah. That must have taken so long to get into her hair. Or channeling.
Yeah.
That's
I'm assuming channeling because she has it in there the next day. But it's just the number of ruffles she has, the number of sleeves she has, and then these just radiating bands coming around her hair is just, she's so superhuman, divine looking. Like,
well, and to me, this What that looks like to me, to be perfectly honest, is in the opening sequence, the opening credits, when we have all the halos around the different Amerlin's heads or whatever. You think they're definitely channelers, and they all have their own pattern. And to me, this looks like a representation of essentially weaves coming out of her head.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I mean, not the part about the opening sequence, but like that looks like weaves. Like that seems what this is symbolizing. Is she is the flame of Tar Valon. Like, look at her. There's literally weaves just making up her costume. There's so much there. But yeah, moving on to Leandrin's belt. I need this belt in my life so badly. So you know how she's been wearing this really cool, like asymmetrical teardroppy, like not teardrop, but this really cool asymmetrical belt that like covers a huge part of her midriff. Well, now she's wearing the same belt, only half of it's missing and these tiny little cutouts, and it's this grid that shows her dress through it. And it's so cool. Just in love with that. Moving on to Moiraine, because I will never forgive Rafe or anyone for saying Moiraine. It's wrong and it's bad, and there's a special circle of hell reserved for people who do that. I'm sorry, Rafe, but I'm throwing out this entire freaking series because of how you say Moiraine. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, really cool things about her costume. So in the extras, they talk about how Kyrian is specifically being inspired by high society French and middle society Chinese styles. Those are the two things they combined, which is very appropriate given Kyrian and everything we know about Kyrian and culture. And so the shoulder things are meant to make her profile a lot more intense and sharp. That's like a specific stylistic thing. And it does. Notice how she has it on her hips too. With this dress, this is a really nice dress, and she has these sewn in tube things that make her hips have that same kind of really harsh out there thing to mirror her shoulders. Like, she is really dressed up.
Well, and it's very devil-like also, horns and wings, and you know, it especially with the Kai sign on her forehead, that it almost looks like two little horns sticking out from her forehead, the way the gold chain does. Like, she's very devilish, like a blue devil in this. Yeah.
Menacing and tricksome. And then so I want to, sorry. Yes. Bouncing back to Leandrin really quick. Also, her hair is amazing. And I saw some praise for the fact that she has the kind of braids that won't damage white people hair, because they don't start at the scalp. They start farther back. And between that and everything I've been reading about hair in the show and nobody knowing of an issue with the hair, I'm just assuming at this point that the hair for everyone, including the Tuatha'an, is as well researched as everything else in the series. And it's just all appropriate, because I posed that question to a few people and nobody has an issue anywhere that I can find. So I just love her massive braids, and I love that I can now feel like that's awesome. Bouncing to Alana. Yeah.
The way the golden chains have been moved from across her chest to her shoulders is a really cool way of like transitioning that dress into a much more formal looking dress.
I think it also makes her look a little more militaristic, and also kind of makes her shoulders bigger. It's got this like general, like on parade kind of thing, instead of like being in the field just a little bit. Also, it allows her to show off her boobs to greater advantage, which as a green is one of her important assets. And she's dressed up fancy, which means, you know, you got to put the goods even more on display. And her hair is pretty much done the same way as it was before. But I also just noticed the lengths of their dresses are all different. Leandrin's stop at the knee, nice practical length. Moraine's trails aggressively. And Alana's brushes the floor in a practical way if you're not going outside.
Right. Yeah, and most people, the dress length does vary between all of these women. Let's dig into the Ajahs.
We can see almost all of them here. Yeah.
I'll just do one at a time since I've got the shots.
Oh, right. Yeah, you got the stills.
Yeah.
Yes,
so what do you want to start with? Red and go around?
Yeah. Let's just go in the order that they are.
All right. So Red Ajah, here we have them standing. Three women. Yeah.
Wow. They're... So clearly the big broad belts are a popular choice across the entire cast, but particularly in the red. The costume designer for the show really
I think it adds some severity. And they these long straight lines on the skirts, like they're making the red look very severe. Big belts, straight lines, hard angles.
And high necks on all of them. All three of them have very high-necked gowns, very conservative. The one on the left has a really cool asymmetrical hemline that goes from like above the knee to below the knee, which is really cool. I'm a big fan. She also has shoulder pads, not as aggressive as Moraine's, but not unlike Moraine's.
Yeah. Well, almost like shoulder chaps.
Yeah. And she's pretty and young. And then the one in the middle is much older. She's got like stern matron energy, for sure. Her hair is very stern. Her face is very stern. Her body posture when she's seated in the seat is just very stern. And do you think this is the head?
Yeah, I'd be willing to guess the center seat in each one of these is the head of the Aja. And they're making that change.
They're making that more of a formalized normal thing. The head is one of the sitters and she gets the central seat, and that's just the way it is. That makes so much more sense for the show.
It simplifies things a little bit, yeah.
So much, yeah. And she looks like the most in charge of those three. And Megan, who is clearly in charge of the blue, is in the middle of the blue. So I think from that we can extrapolate, like, yeah. And then the one on the far right, the thing I find most interesting about her is her hair. She has hair that I aspire to grow at some point, with this really high ponytail. It's not shaved on the sides in an undercut, but it is piled up on top and cut much shorter along the sides. And she's got like a braid down the back, but it's a very high crest of a braid. And yeah, it's just very strong lines, very severe straight lines with the reds.
And then I will go to the gray. All three much older women than with the reds that have a more variation.
Yeah, they are all much older. Much less of an emphasis on wild belt designs. Only one of them has a big broad belt.
Much more comfortable. They look like they'd sit around and these are negotiators. These are the ones who sit around and would be like, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to sit here until you guys, make up. Like they kind of look like stern mothers who are just going to like sit on disruly children until they come to a agreement on how not to fight wars.
Yeah, totally. And interesting, the reds were pictured as all standing. The grays are all pictured as sitting.
Interesting. Yep.
And so yeah, the one on the left has the big broad belt and like a very like a cardigan almost kind of top. Over white, and then the middle one has a shouldery kind of thing, but it's not leather. It's just like she's got the asymmetrical hemline also, and very cool knee-high boots.
I like the boots.
Yes, those are nice boots. And then the one on the right over me is the first one that we've looked at in this detail that has a headscarf covering, and she's got like some serious cranky old like Mother Superior sort of
jowls
like energy
going on. Yeah.
It's a big chonky headscarf that like covers the whole top of her shoulders and everything, and she just looks like she wants to wallop you with a stick.
Although the skirt does look like the most comfy blanket I'd ever worn.
It does look like a very comfy blanket. Honestly, she looks like a wise one. Big bulky skirts and a shufa, like she
just a slightly different color.
Yeah.
All right, and then to the yellow.
Oh, and these are so pretty. It's so bright. And it's not like the gold of everyone else.
No,
this is definitely yellow.
There's some gold aspects, right? I mean, the one in the middle is wearing a giant gold heart. There's gold buttons. There's gold earrings.
The one on the right has gold shiny pants.
Yeah, ooh, those are parachute pants almost.
Yeah, those are like Aladdin cosplay pants.
Yeah, MC Hammer pants.
But yeah, these are much less with the belts. So the one on the right is a little bit of a bigger woman and older again. And she's got like a whole like pouch with like tons of stuff like hanging off of it, like on her belt. She's got like a big ass belt, which then has like a pouch, which then has a bunch of little vials and like stuff. I'm thinking that they're leaning into Yellow's knowing more about herbalist healing and like traditional medicine and not just channeling. I think they're leaning into that more.
So do you think the one over your head is Seafolk with the pantaloons, the shiny pantaloons?
She does kind of look that way.
Yeah. I'd go Seafolk with that. We don't see tattoos or anything like that, which is common, and no nose piercing or anything like that. But they tend to look discreet in the White Tower. They're trying to hide.
Yeah,
so
it does have a little bit of sailor like aesthetic. It's much tighter fitting, closer in, and yeah, those pants. Yeah, maybe we'll see. And then the one in the middle is wearing a much like orange or like patterned dress and has, this big, huge gold medallion, which again, that looks like a symbol of the Yellow's leader. Mm-hmm. That big medallion being something she wears.
It's a heart, there. Right? Heart health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
And the interesting one over you actually looks like she's from Tyr. You see the fish tattoos and the tattoo on the chin?
The one over you?
The other one over me. Sorry, yes, one over me.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was watching it. It's pixelated in Discord, so it's hard to see now. But yes, I did notice that she has a chin tattoo, and she has the fish tattoo on the chest.
She has a fish tattoo across her chest. Yeah,
so she's also from Tyr, or from another culture that has contact with the Seafolk and picked up tattooing traditions, because that's how we're doing Seafolk culture.
The Seafolk is similar enough. The stylized is similar enough that I'm guessing it means someone from Tyr.
Yeah, but the chin tattoo is really cool to see. That's neat. Oh yeah, now it cleared up so I can see it again. It's funny how it goes in and out of quality.
It does, yeah. All right, so then the blue, since we're going around the circle, lift them up a little bit.
Yes, the blue. So these are beautiful shades of blue, first of all. Yeah. Just gorgeous.
Although I will admit, Megan, is that who's in the middle?
Yeah.
I'm just going to call her Pura, because that's how I remember her, because
no!
I'm a terrible person.
No, and you're also wrong.
Is that not Pura?
This is.
Who is that?
This doesn't. Megan is an Aes Sedai who in the rebel camp. Later, I have a whole section in my notes on her. She does not become Aes Sedai.
Oh no!
She does not become Shan.
I trusted somebody else who said something instead of looking it up myself.
Yeah, no. She's but she could end up being Pora, because she talks about going off to investigate ships vanishing in the West. So maybe that is her story, and you are being prescient with this mistake. That's
why I was sort of went with it, is because I was like, oh, she's going to go investigate the ships and get caught and become Pura.
I mean, I could see it, but canonically in the books, that's not this character.
Fair enough. So who is this character? You said she was one of the rebels?
Yeah, okay. So, where I have all my notes for her done in the bath scene. No, I don't.
Well, then let's save it.
Where are my notes for? I have a lot of notes.
We'll save it for her when we get to a scene with her.
I need to find where these notes are before I get to... Okay, so I have my notes for her when she stands up for Moraine later in this scene. So I can get to it now. So, Megan, the blue with the brogue. She seems to be the head of the blue in this story. That's not in the books. In the books, she's just very influential, close quote. In the books, her activities include going to Faldara in Great Hunt. She's one of the sisters who goes there. She replaces Anaya on Egwene's council in Saladar, or on the road in the rebel camp. When Arengar kills Anaya, Megan is who gets appointed to her place on Egwene's council. Initially, she supports Swan very, very strongly in the tower. She's a strong supporter of her, and we see that here. And then blames her just as strongly for the split when it happens in the books. And so then once Swan is healed, Megan, it is rumored, is the one who insisted on her literally begging before she could come back into the blue. It is rumored that Mygon was the one who was insisting that there be begging for reacceptance. And she is loyal to Lelaine in the Romaine struggle. In the Romaine split of how that stuff goes, she is a Lelainist, and she's okay with some pretty sketchy shit when it comes to the Ashaman and using the water bond to compel them, or changing the water bond so that they can control the men without getting madness. She's okay with some pretty morally gray stuff. And she is last seen in the books at Crossroads of Twilight, chapter 30, and is presumed alive as of the end, because Brandon Sanderson didn't have the energy to loop her in and get her killed on screen. But I bet she died on screen or off screen, because it was the last battle and she was a part of the old guard. I'm sure she died fighting Sharans or something. So.
That's great. Yeah, one of the unknown casualties.
In chat, the CIA being okay with shady control stuff? You don't say.
Oh my God. Wow.
But can we talk about the other two blues real quick? Just their costumes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I jumped away. Yeah.
So the one over you is wearing like a princess dress. It's all floofy. Yes. She's got like a gauze layer on top, and it's beautiful, and I want it. Also, she has a big, huge wide belt.
Kyrian. What do you think? Kyrianen? Or maybe or Andoran?
Maybe Andoran. I don't know, but it's fancy. That's a fancy dress. And then Mygon is dressed in this very much darker blue, like almost black blue. It's denim. Way more practical.
She's wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
She's wearing denim. Yes. So that's interesting. She's got cool split sleeves, with white sleeves poking out. And then the one over me is the next one, who's wearing a head covering. She's wearing a very different kind of headscarf, and very much gives me like Reverend Mother from Dune kind of vibes.
What's in the box? Pain.
I guess I'm thinking more of the David Lynch Reverend Mother than the newest Dune. But whatever, I find my references where I can. But she's also wearing a very practical outfit, like high boots, pants for walking. But yeah, she's got a very different style of headscarf than the other one. So
looks like she was about to go riding.
Yeah. So it's like, not only do we have all these different styles in just general, we have different styles of headscarves. And like, I don't know if you can call them all hijabi, because like we don't have, Islam in Wheel of Time. I don't know if there's like another word that's more appropriate, but I just like that there's many different styles, and like every piece of like, they put so much energy into the costumes, just so much energy into the costumes. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Someone's suggesting riding pants means Saldean. You can see that.
I'm really looking forward to looking up who all these women are for part 2, and seeing if anyone other than Mygon shows up later on in the series, and there's any faces we can expect to see in later seasons, because that would be a fun Easter egg to have a sitter. We're going to have the tower split. That seems like an inevitable plot thing. Some of these Aes Sedai will have to be involved in the tower splitting. So yeah, but that will be in part 2 of this recording, which is not this. This is part 1.
White costumes. Looks like, again, we've got another someone from Tyr on the left. Again, chin tattoo and neck tattoos.
Another asymmetric hemline. So many of those. Loving that.
Yeah. And less boots. These are more shoes. The white is less of going out and doing things, more sitting around talking about things.
It's hard to look at people dressed in all white and be okay after what the White Cloaks have done to our main characters. It's rough. I mean, they did a great job like creating different lines and different costumes, but it's still like, you're all in white. I don't trust you. It's unfortunate.
I love the shoulders on the central one. It reminds me of Matt's costume when he joins the Shan with those big wide shoulders that he's got to carry around.
Yeah. The one next to you is in the asymmetrical thing. The one in the middle has bigger shoulders. And
which, if we know from, we've seen the shots of the Borderlands, right? That shot of King Algamar from behind. He's got those same shoulders. So maybe that's a Borderlander thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think her hair looks really cool too. She's got an asymmetric haircut. And then the one over me is another like grandmotherly looking one. Just like so tired of these young kids' shit.
She kind of reminds me of Codswain. Oh, how I picture Codswain. Yeah.
Totally. And she's in another big long dress that looks totally impractical for anything other than hanging out in her quarters at the White Tower. Which, I mean, she's a white, so that checks out.
And then I haven't gotten green.
But you did get brown, right?
No, or brown. I'm not sure. Brown. I think it's brown. Yeah, let's do brown first. Your favorite, brown.
Yes, the Browns. They are my people. I need to know who these characters are because like they're the Browns. I also want to point out that the one over you, the one on the left, has a ginormous belt that is truly obscene in its massiveness. But another cool thing is that it seems like a bigger woman. She fills up her chair a lot more than the others. So liking seeing body size variability in our Aes Sedai. She also looks like she has literally run out of fucks to give for the day.
There is that. It's also
she looks so serious. Like she has cataloging to be getting to right now, and this is some bullshit.
She reads, what do you think, Varen?
I mean, maybe very like 70 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think she looks jaded enough and secretive enough to be Varen. I think she's just a genuine nerd. And then the one in the middle is probably someone whose name I should know because she's probably head of the Brown. I don't know who is head of the Brown in the tower at this time. I will find that out for part 2. I promise. But
she looks like she's ready to hop on a broomstick and go flying off. Like there's definitely,
yeah, she's definitely got very witchy energy. Much narrower belt, 2 tiers of skirt. She's got frizzy hair and her hands in her lap, like she's about to shush you in her library and then fly off on a broom. And then the one over me is another one with the tattoos. Am I seeing that right? She's got the Tyran tattoos. So lots of girls in Tyr. Well, it makes sense because Tyr outlaws them, so they have to leave. And she's wearing a really cool outfit that's got more of the white underneath showing than the brown over top. She looks like she's cataloging everything. She looks like she's just memorizing this entire encounter for analysis later. She is computationally focused. And
do those look like gauges in her ears, or are those just loopy earrings? Hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And
Jesse Bilal is the head of the Brown. Thank you, chat. So that's Jesse Bilal. Until told otherwise, the frizzy-haired witch lady is Jesse Bilal.
And then... yeah, just not a great shot of the green, but mostly of the missing middle chair, which we assume is Kareen, and of course the other two. I don't know if you have. I think probably on the right again with those shoulders, you've got a Borderlander.
Yeah, she's got those big shoulders. But both of them have. Oh, she's wearing pants, and then the one that's closer to us is wearing a skirt.
It looks like it's even got like some embroidery or a bow on the front of it, something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
She's got decorative.
More farm wife, less cavalry sort of energy. Yeah. God, there's so many details, and I'm sure that I'm going to be able to find names for all of them. Whether or not any of them are relevant, you will have to tune in next episode to find out. But I'm going to do that research.
I mean, idealistically, we should be able to come up with the list of all of the sitters in the hall at the beginning of the series and match them up. Yep.
I believe we can. I believe that Robert Jordan and Rafe Judkins are going to collaboratively not let us down. I'm choosing to believe that. Tune in a couple of days to find out if that's true or not. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I don't see what the difference is.
You don't?
Nope. Aside from flexing the power of the Aes Sedai, I don't get what he deserved that would have been different.
I mean, to me, it's the difference between an officer of the law shooting somebody and someone being sentenced to the death penalty. One is with a trial and a judge, and like, yes, he might be standing over the body with blood on his hands. Doesn't mean the cop gets to shoot him in the head. Sorry.
That's a really good argument.
And here's Leandrin as the cop being told, you were not allowed to kill this man, which is essentially what she did. Like, that was, yes, we were going to execute him. That's what the law is, but he deserved a fair trial. That's our law.
But also then she says, you're supposed to shield first, gentle second, kill third. And that is what happened. They did have him stilled until he was breaking out, and then they gentled him. Like, I don't really see where there was a wrong decision.
When she had 7 sisters backing her up, she could have just shielded him again and shut him down. Like, she did not have to steal him in that moment.
That's fair. Yeah. Oh, and if he was the dragon, they might not have gentled him. I don't think everyone knows that the dragon's happening.
But I do think that's the point of bringing someone back, is like, hey, if this person happens to be the dragon, let's not gentle him out in the field. Let's, like, make sure that, like, the Amyrlin doesn't have secret information that this man actually is the dragon reborn.
Also, shawl. Shawl. What is a shawl?
Yeah, no one's wearing a shawl.
What is a shawl? I need to know what a shawl is.
No one's wearing one. Is that just, like, a status? Or is there an actual object that they get? Like, and this is as formal as it gets. You'd think if anyone was wearing shawls, they'd be wearing them here.
Well, maybe it's like getting your diploma and that stupid garbage bag that they make you wear for the ceremony.
Okay.
Maybe it's like that? Or more like the hat. Maybe it's more like the stupid hat.
It's always a stupid hat. Yes, it was revenge. See?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was in danger of my life. It was really scary.
You didn't see what he did to the other cop.
I mean, it's true. You would have taken the law into your own hands and committed extrajudicial murder and war crimes as well, Mother. That's a weak argument. I mean, she's in a privileged position, so she's going to get away with it. But,
And then she's going to misdirect. I love Magan's response to that. Like, what are you saying? Defending her for him being too strong?
And this is tower politics that is off screen, but described in Great Hunt. Like, when she insinuates that, Swan shouldn't be going to the Borderlands because then there's 4 blues in the procession, and, like, suggested in the hall to my face, like, this is it. It happens in the hall to her face. Like, this is all the politics we learn over time about what Swan's Tower is like. So much of it is piled in here. And yeah, Leandrin playing the fucking stage, bringing the emotions in at just the right times. The moment when she chooses to step out of their line and, like, walk around and make her little pitch for why she'd be a better Amyrlin before getting back in line and then undercutting.
It's well done. And it's all leading. And of course, this is why the Elida Leandrin combo is making so much sense. That it looks like she's the one undercutting. Now, I've also heard the Leandrin Alviarin combo, which makes a little more sense. They're both already dark friends. You have her as a second to Elida. She comes in as the not the keeper.
Alviarin is a keeper.
Oh. Yeah, the keeper. So she comes in as the keeper and is sort of the second in command to Elida as the dark friend.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that Alviarin's a white. But yeah, also, like, Galena Leandrin. You could have Leandrin be head of the Black Aja rather than just a dark friend. But yeah, the way that she makes this power move and uses Moraine to undercut Swan, it just feels so Elida to me.
Same.
And Alana's like, take this fucking olive branch that I just totally threw a bunch of political goodwill under the bus for. Like,
right? Like, her, like,
all of that is for Moraine.
You think?
Yeah, Alana is forcing Moraine into a position of having an out, and she's like, fucking take this out. And she kind of does, and then it kind of doesn't work. Alana's, I think, really working for Moraine here, and Moraine is not appreciating it.
If we hadn't tamed him, not if we hadn't gentled him.
Mm-hmm.
Taming him could also be shielding. Yeah,
but again, and this is what Swan gets to, Leandrin was the one controlling it, and they were all more willing to put their strength behind her than to risk him getting out. So it's ultimately Leandrin, but it's like we all backed her up and none of us truly disagreed because we were in fear for our lives, but also she was in control. So it's murky for them, not for us.
That's the other reason why you can't just gentle someone on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love her phrase, our people. And then a few lines later, my world. Like, it's such an Egwene expression when she becomes Amyrlin of just like, I am responsible for this whole world, which is something that Rand is, also has to come to terms with. But I just love that she owns that. She's like, this is my fucking world. Don't fuck it up. It's, her possessiveness, she is this protective mama bear for the world. She is the mother of reality, not in the birthing sense, but in the protective sense. And she yells with that strength, and I love it.
The way her mouth twitches.
Oh, she's such a good actress.
Yeah, I've seen my mother's mouth twitch that way whenever I'm in real trouble. She's about to just unleash it on me. I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. That scared me right there. That honestly, that made me that made me break out in nervous sweat. I was like, what is she going to say? This is not going to go well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, and now that she's gotten through the boring part, she's going to bring out her real main course.
This is the beginning of overthrowing.
And this is when she steps out of line. Watch her body language. She physically steps out of line and makes a presentation to the hall about why they shouldn't trust the Amyrlin, and then gets back into line.
Such an insult, right? More powerful even than you.
And first of all, that doesn't matter or count, and you should know that, you conniving little snake.
Right. And being more powerful doesn't mean the Amyrlin seed is still more powerful than her, no matter how much.
Your power is only your muscles.
Yeah.
No, that's not what the Amyrlin seed's power is. Get out of here.
Pinning her in that truth, which is Moraine again. So that changes things a little bit in terms of what she can sense. Well,
I think she knows that Nynaeve can learn to channel effectively, and she does not know that Nynaeve knows anything about channeling. She doesn't know that Nynaeve can do weaves. She could channel in the most technical sense of the word.
I don't know.
She can't do it consciously. She doesn't. She hasn't touched the source in Moraine's presence. She can maybe sense the potential, but she doesn't know that she doesn't know if Nynaeve has ever channeled. Actually. That's a legitimate, she believes that was the first touching that she saw. So she didn't know she could channel. She just knew that she was going to be able to learn to channel inevitably in the not too distant future. That is an Aes Sedai truth canonical to the books. So I'm protecting you. I'm undercutting you to protect you. Fucking gaslighty bullshit.
Yeah, no, that's insane. That you've been attacked, and their job is to prevent all attacks at all times. Therefore, they must be punished. It's that's not how that
I feel like the Aes Sedai and Saladar do that to Egwene a lot when they're fighting over her.
I feel like we do that actually with American intelligence a fair amount too. If we're ever attacked and we're not aware of it, we're like, "Why didn't you know?" Huh? And well, you don't let us spy on everybody all the time, when you don't want us to.
Yeah. Also, to address chat, I don't think that she said sis in the way that the captions wrote it. I think she got cut off in the middle of saying the word sister. I think she cut herself off. In the captions, it looks like she calls Moraine sis. And that's not how the delivery goes. That's how the captions are written, but the captions are canonically wrong. We know that already.
Lord, comma, captain.
Yeah, it's she did not call Moraine sis. That's not what I got from the delivery at all. Just no.
From Moraine, not from the blue. From Moraine in particular. Why is it a responsibility?
Well, I think because she was in the South, wandering around in the world. The argument is that she's going to be out of the tower. She should be picking up news wherever she is. But this focus on this red I get the feeling she's going to be an important character later. She's gotten a couple of really good shots.
Yeah.
And her face is really distinctive, and she seems very concerned with affairs that are happening. I think she's going to end up being one of the Reds that, like, emerges as we get deeper into Eyes to Dice stuff in further seasons. Like, I'm just betting on it now. She matters.
I really do hope we get more of all these women. Yeah.
Maybe she's the real Elida. Who knows?
The real Elida, please stand up. Interesting. From a distance, I thought she actually had an undercut, but it's just a severe pullback on that braid.
Yeah, I thought it was undercut too, but it's just really intense braiding and fantastic earrings. Ooh.
So yeah, that's the insidious natures. This is blue, and if Suwon doesn't deal with it right here, right now, she's favoring the blue. That's where she's pinned her and forcing her to be like, because basically, if Suwon hadn't been part of the blue could have been, this is blue business, and Moraine and Suwon could have been like, yeah, go deal with it. But now, because that shows favoritism, she can't.
Yep, she's good at her job, which is being a snake.
Yep. And we also get the Scottish accent for Megan. We don't know what country that's from or if they're being consistent with that, but they seem to be pretty consistent with the accents. So curious to see if we can identify her nationality based on that. Yeah, well,
now we know whatever nationality she's of, they've got a Scottish accent, because that's apparently how Rafe is dealing with accents, is first come, first determine, which is cool. And we don't know from the wiki. We don't have a last name for her. She might be Andorran is the best guess. But wherever she's from, it's
Northern
Scotland.
Andorran.
Yeah. Order in the court.
That echo.
Yeah.
There's that look.
That look.
Yeah, they're emphasizing the two of them, being like, cannot say, really?
And that's the head of the Red and whoever is sitting to her left, which is the one with the severe braid and the cool earrings that I really want to be someone important later.
So she's just hiding the idea that she's searching for the Dragon Reborn. Because that's her quest. And she can't say it because the Black Ajah will know about it.
Yeah, and that's part of how she's telling Swan, like, this isn't just another piece of bullshit. This is the thing. I mean, she tells her more explicitly later, obviously, but
Suwon knows what the quest is. Suwon knows this whole time. She's asking a question that she already knows the answer to.
Yeah, but this is like, I can't begin to tell you because then you might expose the fact that I fucking did it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, put a pin in that line.
I will come back. That'll be useful later.
Yeah.
Chekhov's line. And this is just such a great performance. This is all performance between the two of them. This is entirely them faking that they do not get along so that everybody else does not suspect. Even Alana, we get that line earlier, thinks that they're enemies.
This huge drama, this stage production, they're at the height of their formality and their skills. The stage has the biggest audience, the most important audience it could have. And it's just drama. It's just this domination, power struggle like thing that they're doing for the benefit of all these powerful women. It's epic.
You see her looking for something that's the truth, but acceptable to say, and she just can't come up with anything.
No.
But again, I think it's all an act. Like, I think everything is all an act.
Well, it's not just an act. It is political necessity.
Right. And they're being forced into it by Leandrin and the way she created this situation.
Yeah, they are riffing on the situation given the subterfuge that they have to hold up. You know, like, they didn't plan this exactly. They just both know what has to be done, and they're doing it on the fly in front of people who have every reason to be scrutinizing every twitch of their eyebrows. And we get her name!
Mm-hmm. But also the source of the conflict between them, that, this peasant girl who grew up as a peasant doesn't like this, noble woman who's uppity and above herself.
Well, I mean, we get so much little bits in the books about how rank is supposed to drop off and how your nationality is supposed to not matter. And some women are better than others at it. And it's for this to be a point of contention is a believable argument because it's so taboo. Like, that's not how it's supposed to work in the Tower. To accuse a high lady of forgetting her place as a subordinate to the peasant girl is like, it's laughable to those of us that know the series and that know those people, but it's so critical for this public fight, right? Like Rand and Perrin, like they have to pick a really easy to argue about thing like decorum, you know?
And Dana is saying in the chat that X-ray material states women can only sense the ability when they hold the one power, not when they passive. So that does appear to be changed. That
simplifies things a lot. I don't like it, but that does simplify a lot. And the answer to why are we doing that is watch and find out, according to a Twitter exchange with Sarah Nakamura. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that does sort of make the power more equal. It seems like they are making the differences between men and women holding the power lesser. That they both can sense how strong the other person is only when they hold the one power. It's the same in both genders as opposed to being different in the two. And this sort of comes down to, they just seem to be simplifying some of the weirder edge mechanics. They seem to be combining portal stones and waygates. They seem to be simplifying the differences between men and women channeling. They seem to be, not talking about the different 5 powers. It's just the one power. There's no components to it. Like, a lot of the complexity is being squeezed out, distilled out, right? It's just, they're not taking the screen time to explain it. And by saying, well, we're not taking the screen time to explain it, we're actually going to make it simpler.
Can't fault their logic. There's a lot of fringe mechanics that don't translate to screen exposition. Unless you were to give us like 4-hour episodes.
Just, just thinking maybe a few more episodes per season. That,
my world.
The city, the world revolves around the Tarvalin, and Tarvalin revolves around the Tower, and the Tower revolves around the Emerald Sea. This is her world.
Yeah.
And she's at the center of it.
And you are fucking disobeying her, and she will grind you into dust.
And then that just like, it's almost like, again, angel wings. Yeah. That sort of going out and coming down. It's this very wing-like, one power-like.
Yeah. And the formality of it, like, it looks silly. On the other hand, she's a highborn lady from what is clearly a very formal culture in this, like, ancient and esteemed hall, trying to put on the biggest performance. For her to act in this symmetrical, graceful, one-powery sort of way, like, she's not just going to collapse to the floor. She has some dignity. She's going to swan dive. Come on.
Get it? Swan dive?
I did it.
That's what she does later.
I didn't get that. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay.
No sign.
All right. Watch for the fig. Watch for the fig. It's going to be over. It's going to be over.
Your Aes Sedai is hungry. That was perfect.
Here you go, honey. I don't like you when you're angry. Here, have a fig.
And I imagine it's like he feels when she's hungry. So, like, you know how when you're hungry, you just reach for a snack, I bet he's as automated in doing that as anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
and she Alana and snacks fruit. On fruit. Like, she has a very healthy snacking habit. These bitches. I'm a mean girl. On every day we wear red.
It does have mean girl vibes, doesn't it? It's like, get in, loser, we're going shopping, right? Like,
it's so, and she's got her posse backing her up, which, like, oh my God, they're just, and I really want one of these sisters to end up being like a big character. later on, you know, like the one who leads the red after all of the other ones have been killed, or is actually Sylviana or something. Like, I really want one of these women to just, once we get to the end of all the series, it's like, there she is, we didn't even know, you know, like,
yeah.
One of these
the
women.
lack of lines makes me think they're just generic red, though.
But there have to be more reds farther down the line. There have to be. There have to be.
Old friend, old lover.
The way Moraine looks away, like, you're so full of shit. Like, that is such an ex eye roll.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely ex-lovers. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so, we never got a good shot of Leanne.
Yeah. Do you have a timestamp?
Yes, 9:30. It's way back there, but it's just amazing, and I want to talk about her along with all the other Aes Sedai. There. Look, just I need to figure out how to lean my ass away. There's the gold everything. And the thing that really made me stop and look at this, she's got a little gold stripe of paint in her hairline.
Right, I did notice that. It's like right here. It's like a drop of paint that then goes back.
Yeah, it goes back like an inch or two along her hairline. It's so subtle. It's so it's not this big, huge, flashy thing, but it's like her costume is down to like, that's got some kind of significance.
And notice how the earrings sort of match the staff as well.
Same with her armband. Look at how her armband just looks like the solid brassy sleeve of the staff. And her dress is in shades of like white and gold. Like, it's not a bright gold, it's a very dull gold, but she's just so imposing. You know, that staff will also like beat you bloody in no time. You could crack someone's skull on accident with that thing.
It does. It looks like that's like a bronze tip staff that could act as, I mean, I bet there's a name for it, but a mace without spikes.
Yeah, a cudgel or something. That is a mean staff. Nothing like in the books. In the books, it's like flame topped, and that never made sense to me. And this is just like, I will beat your ass before you get to the Amerlin. Like, she's the last line of defense for the Amerlin, is the keeper with this fucking staff.
All right.
So I just wanted to make sure we got her in that hall scene. Thank you for your indulgence.
Of course. Let's see. It looks like some more tower guards outside. Any Fane sighting?
Oh yeah, that is a tower guard. I also noticed that there's like a street painter over your shoulder that's like doing like art. There's like portraits being done. Every one of these street shots there's so many cool details. Tea, because Chinese culture.
Well, and tea culture. I mean, Wheel of Time is all about tea constantly. And it's about time they start showing it on screen.
It's true. It's true.
And that just looks like a fun place to have tea, frankly. Like, that seems like an awesome little restaurant.
Oh, freaking nice. I mean, I went to Europe one time, and I did definitely get to go upstairs into buildings like that lean out over busy streets and have, you know, food and drinks. And it's, God, I want to visit Tarvalin. I would go there.
It looks like a cool city, yeah. A little incense burning on the wall.
Mm-hmm. And she's just hanging out, having a nice cup of tea while the stress of the morning goes by, and she waits for her opportunity to go. She has a busy damn day, okay? Like, Moraine has a really intense day. She goes through so much, and then she goes into the next day getting, like, no sleep. So, this is a very
the first thing I saw
for her.
And is behind her that's the balcony that Rand was on.
Yeah.
She's sitting across the street. Yeah. She knows where he is.
Yeah, she's literally waiting for Nynaeve and Loyal to leave, mostly Nynaeve to leave before she goes up. But she's like, I'm going to have a cup of tea while I wait. Like, I just need a me moment. I need some fucking tea. And, you know, she cleared out the whole floor of the tea house. She got it to herself.
And there's Lan's nod that he's been watching, of course.
Right. Yeah, they just went and staked it out. No big deal.
And the reason she reacted is because she felt Lan react when Nynaeve left.
Yeah, I mean, I think she knew where they were. It was just a matter of waiting. Yeah. Her look, her just absolutely will walk through walls expression there.
The barber?
The barber,
he continues
to be there. So many times I've stopped this to just look at all the different things happening. Yeah, the barber has a brisk business. I like his story.
This guy that's passing Lan, what is he wearing at that robe? That's not Tinker. That's like stars and planets on a robe?
Yeah. That's interesting. God, there's so many colors in all these costumes. And then when they go
very odd.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really odd.
It's just an odd pattern.
See the sign?
No, what was the sign?
The Light's Blessing. Right there.
Oh, okay, so...
That's the sign for the Light's Blessing.
I thought it was like a dandelion.
I mean, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I just clearly that is a sign that says the Light's Blessing. Not in words, but in pictures.
Sure. Because this is the Light's Blessing? Do we hear that later from somebody?
We heard it earlier. The Light's Blessing is the inn that they're staying at. We know that. It's been said.
So many details.
Oh my God, right?
Them all up.
Yeah.
Well, what about the tattoo on the neck of the guy behind you? I thought that was really eye-catching.
It was very eye-catching, and I like it. I love how much they're leaning into tattooing as well as piercing for the costumes. I'm really enjoying that. Basil Gill.
And that's the only shot we get of him.
He's a fat innkeeper, and he has one line.
Yep.
So we can trust him, but he's not going to matter until later, I guess.
I guess. That seems weird to have like him introduced and named at this point. It seems like maybe... Did they cut more of his scenes?
The amount of things that they have clearly cut, I would not be surprised at all. But there's also Matt and Tom and Camelin. There's... everything to do with Elaine and Morghese. I mean, there's plenty of times where he could be kind of like the Baal Domon of the Andor plotline and just kind of show up like along the way to be like, I'm an Andor and you can trust me. I'm guessing. I have a hard time imagining that that's the only time he shows up. And then she can feel the evil radiating out already. She can totally feel it.
Love that realization.
I think they've already have arrived.
I think they have arrived. I think she knows that they're there.
Yeah. Well, does she, though? Because I thought at first she did, but she doesn't get the message about where they are until later.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. We might also not be getting this in sequence. I mean...
It's hard to know exactly when she does what. Because it's her day, but when is she doing these things?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Rand, he hasn't given you even one lesson in how to use the sword. Look at Lan's finger, just pointing at him like, you put that down, you little puppy.
It's a great shot. The way he's yelling, though. I like the defensiveness of Matt. He does think that Moraine is going over to him to still him or hurt him.
And Matt thinks so, too. Matt clearly thinks he knows what's going on. I saw this shot memed as Woolhead pulls my finger.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Easily distracted.
Yeah, and of course, the second he looks away, Lan just takes it away from him. No problem.
Yeah.
Not really a threat at any point.
No, Lan's trying to protect Rand from himself.
Yeah.
He's like, don't make me hurt you. That line... The world doesn't need a dragon like me.
Yeah. Oh, you stupid boy. So true.
That's what literally everyone has said verbatim about that at this when it becomes obvious in the story. Like, no reader has ever read that passage and been like, good move, dude.
No one has took that dagger. No. And we get our golem like
exorcism
freaking out. Yeah.
Like, yeah, totally Gollum. Like, it's so intense. This was such a cool sequence. I loved literally everything about this sequence, like so much.
What do you think about Moraine cleansing him on her own without help?
Not a fan.
Yeah.
But she did heal him temporarily before he got uber bonded to it. And there's the entire arc with Fane and the Great Hunt, and the fact that he stayed behind at the end of this episode. I'm like, I'm just going to hold out hope that he does come into contact with the dagger again and has to be healed by many more Aes Sedai. Then this will not annoy me as much as it currently does.
Right.
Because, I mean, she does canonically give him a temporary heal in the books. Like, she doesn't think this is temporary in this.
No,
but
that thing is, she says he's fully healed. Though.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like this is done and done.
But it's so much more efficient. She's out of favor with the Amerlin. She's out of favor with all the Aes Sedai. She has until tomorrow to figure this out. There's no way they can pack in healing him. It's just not going to happen.
I'm also curious if we get the scouring of the memories that leaves the holes that cause him to go seek out the old memories in the first place. Like, are they doing that at all? Which again is curious. Maybe
bringing the dagger back soon is how they're gonna do that. Because but I love the way that they imagine the darkness in this. I love the snaky, how she's pulling it and fighting it, and it's sliding up her arm. I love how the weaves are the blackness follows the weaves, but Rand's eyes can only follow the blackness.
Yeah. Do you think it affects her at all on her mouth like that? Do you think it leaves any bit of itself behind, or do you think she's able to peel it all off?
I think
what she's doing is she's giving it an alternate target, which is herself, and that's what's pulling it out, and then she puts it back in the dagger.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first. At first I was like, is she going to literally take it into herself and try to fight it off in herself? Because that seems like a dumb move. And then I thought it was more it was going to attack her on its way to the dagger, and she knew that and anticipated it. I felt like the whole thing where it gets on her face was a way to show that she's shielded, and she's shielding herself. Because how else are you going to display that? Because it totally could have gone up her nose, right? The fact that she closed her mouth and closed her eyes doesn't mean anything. Her nose and ears were still open. But it shows that it is trying to get her, and that she's doing stuff with the power to make sure that it only passes by. It actually has to go into the dagger before it can attach to anything.
The way he's literally spitting it up. And we've seen it come from his mouth multiple times. So
it's so gross. God.
So that seems pretty successful. And it seems like she's holding her breath the whole time to avoid breathing anything in. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look a lot like the taint as it's flowing.
It does.
Through her magic power.
It does. It can't be, though. How are you going to cleanse the taint if you don't have Shadar Logoth to balance it out? It can't be the same thing.
Right.
But it did.
They have to be different things.
It did.
They did look the same.
And then Lan protects them all with a linen blanket.
Yeah, that's how you seal things away.
Yeah, really want to know what they do with it too, because we don't see it again.
No. He's not even showing it now. He's just is he holding it in the blanket?
Yeah, he wrapped it up in the blanket and is holding it like an Aiel holding a sword. Basically, is how he's holding it.
So I assume it gets buried somewhere in the White Tower.
They probably have an oubliette for magical artifacts that are just too dangerous. They're no, we're just doing a goodbye. And yet, Matt's hand was all fucked up in those shots. I hadn't noticed that before. Yeah. It's he gets all aged or something messed up.
What do you think she's doing out there? Just recovering?
Just catching her breath. Yeah, because that strained her really hard, and she's had a very eventful day emotionally. She had to go right out of that meeting at the hall into Leandrin being a little bitch, and then right down into saving Matt from an evil that could potentially kill the whole world if it gets loose in Tar Valon. It's a big day. She needs a minute. She did have her little cup of tea earlier, I suppose, but yeah. And she's exhausted, but it's all in a day's work. Yeah. That's just what Aes Sedai do in general.
Because she doesn't know which one is the Dragon Reborn.
I just this is one of those scenes where I'm like, this is too much communication to be authentically Wheel of Time. This is unbelievable. Rand and Moraine having a conversation that's like genuine,
not arguing.
Like
yeah.
I want scenes of them arguing about how to deal with him being the dragon. After this, I need to see them yelling at each other. Like,
well, yeah. You got that look like you got a theory.
Is Matt Bella in the sense that did Rand keep Matt going? Give him the strength he needed to survive the dagger?
That's the reason that he's more powerful than, or was stronger against it than he should have been, that Matt was feeding him energy?
The bonus trivia says Matt's possible Taviran nature gave him the strength. That's illogical and makes no sense at all, unless you can't tell the new people that Rand can channel. But we didn't get the Bella strengthening scene. We got Rand knocking down a door, but when she says he should have consumed him weeks ago, the camera cuts to Rand and he sort of looks guilty and gulps. And I'm just like, did Matt almost succumb and Rand was so desperate that somehow he did something that got Rand
I like that through? A lot.
And
I mean, the problem is we got a 1 month later, so we have no idea what happened in that month between them. Exactly.
We don't know. Like, it could have gotten really bad and Rand somehow got him through. And the way that Rand is screaming, he didn't channel when they walk in. I think he suspects he can channel. I mean, he's already done the door thing. We saw the door thing. I really want to think that a second incident happened on the road for them, and that it had to do with
Matt thinks Rand can channel. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm currently going with. Because I mean, Matt was fighting. Matt has so much darkness in him, and he was giving up and accepting his fate. And I don't see him fighting the dagger off on his own. I feel like that was Rand willing him to live because Rand needs a partner to get through this shit.
I like that a lot. Yep, there's a guilty gulp from Rand.
Weeks ago, he's thinking of that one night when weird shit happened and then Matt didn't die.
What do you think of that comment about the darkness in Matt?
I love that line because I think it says that Matt is a complex character for more than just his traumas. I think it's saying Matt has darkness and complexity in and of himself as a person. It's not just that he has a tragic backstory. He's not a Joker with sad shit. He's a complicated person with like probably some real darkness, which is why he's going to be a good general. Generals are usually not the nicest people. So I think he has a real darkness that he's fighting in himself. That's probably part family. But it's him, not his trauma. And he will touch it again. Calling it right now. He will touch it again. Okay, look at that.
Love that.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Finally someone says it. Why didn't you call me right away?
Yeah, she's like, you're enough of a talented person. You could tell that was bad. You could tell that was beyond you. What the fuck were you thinking? And Nynaeve was thinking, I hate you. That's what Nynaeve was thinking, was fuck you and the entire organization you stand for, but particularly fuck you. Yeah.
That's a burn.
Ouch.
I suggest you start using some wisdom. Yeah, that's a burn.
But she's right, which is why it burns so hard.
The best ones always do. That basket full of herbs that's like, oh, that's what you're going to use?
And look at how, particularly before Moraine left, like, Nynaeve is so isolated. Like, look at her. She's got those 2 bars on either side and she's clutching her herbs. Like, she is so isolated. Like, she doesn't know Loyal at all, really. Rand is drifting away from her and maybe on Moraine's side, kinda. And, like, she's so on her own. That's going to be a big part of her arc, is her feeling alone. I'm just calling it now. Okay.
And I think with that, we have reached 2.5 hours. It is 6 o'clock. I think we shall open part 2 on the bath scene.
Yes. I was about to say, stop the presses. We had told you before we started, we need to stop at 2 hours or 30 minutes in, and we made it to 25 minutes. We're not going to make it through that last 5 minutes in. No, we've overrun our time. So, end of part 1.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone who's here live listening. Thank you everyone who's online after the fact watching the edited version. We really appreciate
Thank you for waiting.
Yeah, thank you for your patience. We really appreciate all of your views and your comments and your Patreon donations and your likes and your follows and your ratings and reviews and your general positivity in the sphere of discussing Wheel of Time, the show, and not feeding the trolls.
Yum, yum, yum. Oh,
don't feed the trolls.
Okay.
Don't feed the trolls. You can feed Seth. Don't feed Seth. Please feed Seth. Go to patreon.com/WoT Spoilers and feed Seth. Do not feed the trolls.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?